and welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. Today, we're going to talk about, we have no idea what we're going to talk about because we just had this conversation before we hit record. So we're just going to see what flows out of us, people. Hello, I'm Jasmine. I am your crazy host for this podcast. And today I invited Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Jasmine.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm super happy to be here with you.
Yes, it's going to be fun. I something just came to me. Like, how do you say your last name? Is it?
It's Blum, but everybody wants to say Blum.
Yeah,
I actually debated and agonized over if I was going to change my name, and I did because it sounded so friendly, Blum. And so I learned that somewhere along the way, someone took off E's and Bergs and Rosens and all kinds of things. So it's just Blum.
It's good. I like it too. Wendy Blooms. There you go. So Wendy, how I start the podcast usually is I ask my guests to say, where you from, what you do, just so that they can get a little sense of what you do. But before you do that, I'm going to tell them how I invited you.
Cool.
So we are taking this class with Rob, my friend Rob. Everybody knows Rob Cook. And it's a class called Speak and Be Heard. And Wendy's in the class, and you're going to see more of the people that are in the class come up in the next few weeks because I'm inviting people. And Wendy said, "Why did you invite me?" I said, "I have no idea. You open your mouth." And I said, "You have to come to my podcast." So there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now you can tell them the real stuff.
Yeah, the real stuff. So a little bit about who I am. I'm a wanderer. My name the name Wendy actually means wanderer.
Really?
Yeah, it does. I'm a wanderer and a seeker. Although I've lived in the same house for 22 years, so I haven't gone far. I am a therapist by my credentials. I am a clinical mental health counselor in private practice, and new at that. It's been my second act. I'm on the cusp of 50, and I went back to school in my early to mid 40s, and kind of started this launched career. I stumbled into a podcast from Amy Johnson, and actually it wasn't Amy's podcast. She was a guest on a podcast. And Amy knows this, so I'm going to say this. It totally pissed me off. I pissed off in the way that somebody was telling me something I didn't want to hear, but I knew it was true. And my first reaction was anger. Isn't that funny? I'm not actually a very angry person, but I was like a protective anger, because it seemed like what Amy was talking about was kind of going against what I had just studied and spent all this time trying to figure out to do. So of course I Googled her and I looked her up and I started listening to her podcast, and quietly my life started changing.
I love that. Quietly, your life started changing.
My life started changing. It was subtle. It just unfolded. I've chased down every way I could think of to understand my anxiousness, to understand why I had panic attacks, why I would get caught up, all of these things. And as I started listening to Amy, and then, kind of catching on to some other teachers in this conversation and this understanding, it was so core here. And I pointed to kind of my solar plexus, it's sort of once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you're on the path, you can't be off it. And so all this to say, I've been in the last year, kind of just learning from different teachers in this understanding, and really enjoying the unfolding.
Yeah. So most people who are listening know what this understanding is that we're talking about, but I'm just going to refresh your memory. We're talking in mind, consciousness, and thought.
Mhm.
And basically, it's the foundation of how human beings experience life.
And it's like infinitely unfolding and curious for me. And I see it everywhere. So, and I guess I'm a coach now. We were just talking about that because labels and who we are. So I just did Amy Johnson's 6-month change coach certification program, and I loved it. And I've just been taking classes from lots of different people and just saying yes to learning. I'm infinitely curious. Yeah. I always, like last night, I was reading some article about Stonehenge in National Geographic, and then I realized I don't know anything about the Bronze Age. What are they talking about? And I'm down a rabbit hole, and now I geek out on weird things.
Yeah, we get to, we get curious. It's funny. I have a client that just launched, she's launching something about curiosity. So it's coming up. I'm going to have her on the show also. And she's going to talk about curiosity. So it's so funny because I recorded a podcast. I think I recorded a podcast this morning with somebody, and we were talking about labels also, and how deep how profound a label can be to us, and how it attached. Like I was sharing how, just even the type of car I had, like, was attached to who I was. Like, it's unbelievable. And we do it innocently, and we crave it too. We crave it, right? Like you, just like before the recording, you were asking me, why am I here? Like, we want the reasons why things happen. And I think that's how I become a weirdo, because I'm just like, I have no reason why. Can you just come on the show? I just want to chat with you. It's going to be fun. I have a feeling it's going to be fun.
But Jasmine, what was so great is that when you asked, I was just said, yes. And I didn't hesitate. It was later that my thinking mind went, why am I here? And it's just a funny thing, because you and I both clearly, vibe and talked about it. It's like, oh my God, there's the plants and the dog and the whole thing. And like, oh yeah, like we're on the same page.
Yeah. And the good hair. Like, I really, guys, I really, like, she's got a fantastic head of hair now. And like, I'm like, my arm hurts. I can't do anything with my hair.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, the hair is, and there's a label right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And because you can't see me, but so I had this rule that I was going to let my hair be gray when I was 50.
Okay.
And then, of course, you guys all know we've been through a pandemic, couldn't go to the salon for a while.
Yeah.
And the writing was on the wall. And I was like, well, shit, I guess this is happening. We're going to do this. And so I have let my hair go totally natural. And it has been the most liberating, cool thing and label change. I thought I would look old, or that people would view me differently. And that was just a label. That was just a thought I constructed in my head about an insecure thought. Really, it's just a label.
It's just amazing. You're giving me the goosebumps just because of this. Like,
it's so funny. I have so many women go, oh my God, I love your hair. Like, that's so courageous that you let yourself go gray. And it's just, I get that, because I was there. And it doesn't matter. You can color your hair to the day you die. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do what makes you feel good.
Yeah. I color my hair.
Yeah.
Like, it needs to get coloring now, because I get dark, but I want to be blonde. Like, if I had white, I'd probably let it go, but I have no white. So, so I'm sorry, guys who are listening, that we actually went into hair. Like, I told her I have no idea where it's going to go, but that's where we went.
It was a label. It's a label.
Yeah, there you go. And so this concludes the episode. No.
And
cut. So tell me, I'm gonna ask you something. So you just did the change, it's recent, right? The change coaching that you did with Amy Johnson. So tell me, what is one of the, I'm sure you got many insights, but what is the biggest thing that you've seen by doing this? Like, what is the thing? Like you said, it's been changing quietly. I like that, actually. I like the quietly because when I got into this conversation, it was kind of like you'd hear people go, oh my God, I just saw this, and oh, my life's totally transformed. And I'm just like, oh, well, I saw that a while ago, and now I'm seeing this and this change. And it's true. It was a quiet thing, like just things all of a sudden changed. But did you have anything big, or was it all quiet?
Such a good question. I feel like everything about stumbling into that, stumbling, it feels like the right word to use, felt, I'm really pausing and thinking about this because it's like, gosh, my head is exploding in different ways to think about this, because I think it's both. And I think that there were some big insights that came through for me. And I think that they were also just subtle and unfolding, because like we were saying earlier, for me, it's like, oh, you catch on to something, like, oh, you see it in a new way, but I have to experience it. And then it's sort of, it gets deeper, or it unfolds.
And then it becomes big.
And then it becomes bigger. Yes. Like almost like, as someone who's run pretty darn anxious all of her life, it's almost like, well, where did that go? Where's that part of me? So I would say that a lot of my insights through that program were about really understanding the habit of my thoughts, and seeing through that in a totally, completely different way. It really helped me to settle and see that I'm absolutely not my thoughts, and things are, my thinking is innocently done. Seeing the psychological innocence, has been probably hands down my biggest takeaway so far in how I'm seeing things.
Okay. So can you speak to that for those people who are listening? Because a lot of the time, I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, so some people who are listening are actually listening that they understand the three principles, like they're into this conversation and they get it. But some are my friends and they don't necessarily know, So when we talk about this understanding, and I have a hard time articulating anything. Like I told you, I couldn't even tell you why I wanted to hear. So I have a hard time articulating some things. So when we talk about psychological innocence, what is it to you? Like, what do you mean by psychological innocence?
Yeah, I love that. It is absolutely full of compassion. And for me, it is the path. It's just the gateway into like understanding myself and others. But so I'm going to give you an example through, I guess, maybe a story about myself. I have, like everyone else, had trauma happen in their life. We call it big T trauma or little T trauma in the therapy world. And I've had some big T trauma. And I think that I spent the majority of my life until up very recently with a what was wrong with me kind of attitude around it. This means a lot about my childhood, about my parents, about my family, about my marriage, myself, whatever. A lot of, I'm going to go with shame and blame. Innocently done by myself, but I didn't see it as innocent. I've lived a lot of my life with what's wrong with me. And as a therapist, I see so many people that come through the door that almost universally what I hear people tell me is they think that they're crazy and what's wrong with me. And that to me is like, as you say, goosey, because I relate to that so deeply, of that feeling of being in that space of what is wrong with me. So when I started learning that, we really, like, no one's broken. We are a blue sky, no exceptions. Always. I could understand what people were saying, psychological innocence. It was like, oh my God, I really was only, so at the time, again, kind of to go back into story, when I was 26, I had a seizure of some kind. It's hard to, it's unclear. But when I woke up, I was on the ground and things were not going well. And it launched into chronic panic attacks. Didn't feel like I could leave my house for about 2 weeks. I felt like someone had taken a rug out from underneath my life. And I thought I was crazy. I thought I was going crazy. And it was just, it had to be this way. I know that now. And it was an unfolding in my life of really kind of getting to the heart of some things that were coming up in my life. But I have had a lot of fear and judgment around that. I see the psychological innocence now of where I was at that time. And I have so much more compassion for myself. I don't see what's wrong with me anymore, that there was nothing wrong with me. Nothing.
Yeah, it's just that we're having thoughts and thinking the thoughts are true.
Yeah, I was so wrapped up in my drama and my stories and what that meant about me. And oh my God, the suffering there. Like, I mean, I can think about that and I can feel it. And that's how I know for sure that if I'm thinking, I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because I can play around with that all the time. I mean, everybody can try that out.
Yeah.
If I think about my happiest memory or my dog or my children or something that's lovely, like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
Can move around a little bit. So the psychological innocence helps me see things more clearly about all people. And I think that blends really well with the understanding of nobody's broken.
Yeah.
No one. And that is so beautiful. And that gives me goosies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we could all get, I think, like for me, it's been layers and layers and layers. It's like the more I remove layers, the more I start, like, you know, how I call it daring. I call it owning. Also, I like, you know, once I can own my thoughts, when I can own that whatever I'm thinking was like, oh wait, I'm feeding this. I'm the one feeding this thought that's generating this feeling inside of me. Once I own it, it's mine. I can let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And until I could do that, it was when it was somebody else's fault. When the feeling was coming from, it was my father, it was my mother, it was my brother, it was my neighbor, then I could do nothing about it. Then I was kind of stuck with it.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Oh, I fully know that game.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody could just get that, you're not what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You're not your thoughts.
Right. Right. I think the other one that was big for me too was really seeing like kind of how the mind works and what it wants to do. And I think of it as kind of how I explain it and how I understand it and how I talk about this with my clients is it's like our brain is a search, like a searchlight over the water. It's constantly scanning from our past into our future to like back and forth, caught in thinking. And we forget on how to get present.
Yeah.
Like we lose that.
Yeah.
And boy, that one was a big one for me too.
There are these like, you know, they're innocent traps. I'm going to let you call it about psychological innocence. So like now what I'm seeing is like, there are these traps of, you know, these good ideas or these good values, you know, like you have to have, you know, don't let people step on you. You know, people should never take advantage of you. Isn't that a nice trap? Like,
oh yeah.
Like if you ever make up one day that they took advantage of you, you're kind of like fucked.
You're fucked, totally.
You're totally fucked.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many people will come to me in the beginning and everybody wants to talk about, I've been gaslit. I need better boundaries. And like, I've got to stand, these are like the catchphrases that are, and my anxiety. And oh boy, God, do I know that? As if anxiety is like their codependent partner that sits right next to them. It's a live, living extension of them. And if I just had better boundaries, and if so-and-so, and this wasn't happening, all in that, Michael Neal calls it, the exterior, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, that's a big one too.
Yeah.
Got to have all those things. And you're right, because it is a trap. Because what does that mean to have really good boundaries?
Yeah, I have that one. There's another one also, you deserve it. But I deserve it. Don't you understand, Wendy? I deserve it. Isn't that like another mind fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the second you make that up, and the second that you find proof that something's happening that you don't deserve, then that's it. You're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then who's deserving and who's not deserving?
Exactly. Exactly. And I understand. I don't know if there are people listening right now going, well, hey, I understand that point of view. I do get it. But there's so much freedom in just letting it go. And just saying, like I saw the other day, my dad was like, you should go talk to that person and tell them they're stepping all over you. And I'm like, well, hey, if not going to scream at them makes me a doormat, then so be it. I'm just going to be a doormat, man. I'm fine with that. I'm like, if you want to label it like that, go for it.
Yeah.
Not playing that game.
No.
And I'm finding new ones every time. I found a new one like a couple of months ago. It was like, oh, he's my friend. He should not have done that. My friend, here are the checklists of all the things that my friends should be doing. And here's a list of all the things that my friends shouldn't be doing. And I just got caught up in it all. And I was just like fighting with myself. There was like this balance. The devil and the angel, it felt like that. It just felt like that. But he fucked you over. No, that's not him. But he did. I'm telling you. No, it's really not him. And I was just like, at one point, it was kind of like, okay, guys, shut up. Selling those cartoons that just leave me alone. But it's like when we're in a space of peace where we're not fighting with stupid, made up stuff.
Yeah, right.
We can create, we can love, we can play, we can meet new people and connect instantly.
Yes. What I love about what you're saying and how I think some people could hear this and go, well, then that does make you a doormat. If you're not standing up for yourself or fighting for everything or, getting aggressive or, pulling yourself up and, got to be this boss lady. Like, yeah. I find that so tiresome and not true anymore. And I think maybe I'm kind of having an insight about that right now. Like, I don't feel like a doormat because I've opened myself up to a little bit more compassion for myself and someone else and seeing the psychological innocence of being caught in thinking. And it's not a free pass or an excuse. It's not that either.
No.
It's just, it feels so heart-centered. Again, kind of like just from this, it's like dropping out of that and being in the presence. It's like, oh, that's just more of a core truth here, principle of seeing compassion.
Yeah. I think that, it's really interesting to look at the thoughts and look at, okay, but how do I feel right now? How am I feeling right now? And I think that if you can feel yourself, just like, how am I feeling? You can almost feel the energy go up to your head when you're thinking. You can literally just like feel your head, you can feel the brain starting to activate. That's how I feel. Like, I mean, for the longest time, I was like, once here, it's like there's something here. It was like thinking that was there. I was like, okay, no, I don't want it. And I played like that. I would just rub it out. And now I can just go back down and settle and then go, okay, I'm feeling good. Oh, Bote just heard some barking. Bote.
Love it.
So for those of you who are listening, you know I don't edit. So Bote has a bone now, and she doesn't want to come on me because she's got a bone. Bote. And she doesn't want me to talk to her either. She's like, don't talk to me, I've got a bone.
That's how she feels.
Yeah.
She's thinking a lot about that bone.
Yeah, exactly. She's guarding it with her life. And if I talk to her, she gets really upset. Oh, so believe it or not, Wendy.
Yeah.
We've done our 30 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flew by.
We've actually been talking for an hour, but we've recorded for 30 minutes.
I love it.
And it was so much fun. I loved it.
I loved it too. I just am thrilled to be here and to get to know you more and look at all your lovely plants and just what a lovely feeling to be together.
Thank you. It was super fun. So I know that you told me the website's not ready.
Correct. I'm fresh and new as a spring chicken.
But do you, like, if people, let's say people are listening to you and they're like, I don't know why, but I want to call her too. How do they do that?
The best way, right? You can find me on LinkedIn. But I do have my domain, so it's up, and my website should be in about 2 weeks all ready to go. So get ready, be wowed.
Well, guys, we're recording this and maybe it's already on because it's going to probably get published in 2 weeks. So
that makes sense. So you can find me at wendyblumcoaching.com.
Okay.
And
is that your email or is that your domain? So it's wendyblum.com, your URL.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So
what I don't know.
Yeah. So I know. So wendyblum.com.
I told you earlier that I didn't know what I was doing in the tech world.
I know. I got it. No problem. I'm handling it, guys. It's wendyblum.com.
Jasmine's got me. Email Jasmine. She knows.
And I'm going to put it in the description, guys.
Love it.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. You're like sunlight. You're like sunlight. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I love it.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you so much for reaching out and inviting me. It's been lovely.
It was fun. Everybody else who's listening, I'm going to say, dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you want, and have a good day and see you next week. Bye.